Some characters save the actors who play them. When Jennifer Lawrence walked onto the Tonight Show stage with that authentic charm and disarming honesty that had made her America's most relatable superstar, nobody expected her to reveal the most vulnerable chapter of her healing mission. Jimmy Fallon had planned a light-hearted interview about Jennifer's latest film and her return to the spotlight. The audience was ready for the self-deprecating humor and genuine warmth that always came with a Jennifer Lawrence appearance. But what Jennifer was about to confess would silence Studio 6B and prove that sometimes the most important performances happen not on movie screens, but in therapy rooms where suicidal teenagers learn that playing different characters can help them find reasons to stay alive as themselves. The cameras were rolling, the audience already laughing at Jennifer's opening jokes, and then she spoke 13 words that changed everything. I teach acting to suicidal teens because playing different characters helps them find reasons to stay alive. What came next wasn't just television. It was a revelation about identity, hope, and the sacred power of performance to show young souls that their story doesn't have to end in tragedy. Jennifer Lawrence had always been known for her authentic vulnerability and emotional transparency. The Oscar winner, who never lost her relatability, who openly discussed her struggles with anxiety and depression, but what audiences didn't know was that Jennifer's understanding of using performance as emotional escape had been shaped by her own battles with severe depression during her early career, and that experience had awakened a calling to help teenagers whose mental health crises had brought them to the edge of suicide. The character healing sessions had begun 7 years earlier, during a period when Jennifer was recovering from her own mental health crisis that had occurred at the height of her fame. The experience of feeling suicidal despite outward success had given her profound insight into how teenage depression operates independently of external circumstances and how performance could provide both escape and self-discovery for young people trapped in their own darkness. When I was struggling with depression, I realized that the only time I felt like myself was when I was playing someone else, Jennifer later explained. Acting gave me permission to feel different emotions, to inhabit different mindsets, to experiment with hope and strength that I couldn't access as myself. Playing characters literally kept me alive during my worst periods. Teen depression and suicide rates had reached crisis levels, with suicide being the second leading cause of death among adolescents aged 15-19. Traditional therapy, while valuable, often struggled to reach teenagers who felt disconnected from their authentic selves or who had difficulty articulating the depth of their emotional pain. These kids are dealing with depression so severe that they can't imagine a future where they want to be alive, Jennifer said with emotion. They're convinced that their current pain is permanent, that they're fundamentally broken, that death is the only escape. But acting can show them that they're capable of embodying different emotional states, different possibilities. Jennifer's first encounter with a suicidal teenager had been through a crisis intervention program where she had volunteered to speak about mental health. 16-year-old Emma had been hospitalized after a serious suicide attempt and was refusing to engage with traditional therapy, convinced that nothing could help her escape the depression that had consumed her life. Emma told me that she felt like she was trapped inside a character she hated herself, Jennifer remembered with tears. She said she couldn't imagine ever feeling anything other than hopeless. She wanted to die because she couldn't see any other version of herself existing. Working with mental health professionals, Jennifer had developed an approach that used acting exercises specifically designed to help severely depressed teenagers experience emotions and perspectives that their depression had made inaccessible. This isn't just drama class, Jennifer emphasized. This is therapeutic intervention that uses character work to show kids that they're capable of feeling and thinking in ways their depression convinces them are impossible. When a suicidal teenager successfully plays someone who's happy or hopeful, it proves that those emotions exist within them. Over 7 years, Jennifer's character healing program had worked with 87 teenagers who had been hospitalized for suicide attempts or were at immediate risk for self-harm. I worked with this 17-year-old boy named Marcus who had attempted suicide 3 times, Jennifer remembered with love. Marcus was convinced that he was fundamentally worthless, that everyone would be better off without him. He couldn't imagine any scenario where his life had value. The breakthrough had come when Marcus was asked to play a character who was beloved by their family. Initially resistant, Marcus had gradually been able to embody someone who felt valued, experiencing emotions that his depression had hidden from him for years. Marcus started crying during the exercise because it was the first time since his depression began that he could feel what it was like to believe someone cared about him. Jennifer said with tears, playing that character showed him that feelings other than hopelessness were still possible. The approach worked because it provided concrete evidence that teenagers could experience different emotional states, challenging depression's fundamental lie, that their current pain was permanent and unchangeable. There was this 15-year-old girl named Sophia who had been cutting herself and planning suicide because she felt completely disconnected from everyone. Jennifer shared with emotion. Sophia believed she was incapable of forming meaningful relationships. Through playing characters who formed deep connections, Sophia had begun to recognize her own capacity for relationships that depression had obscured. Sophia learned that loneliness wasn't her permanent identity. It was a symptom that could be treated, Jennifer explained. Playing connected characters helped her practice emotional intimacy before she was ready to risk it in real relationships. The most profound transformations happened when teenagers realized that if they could convincingly portray characters who wanted to live, found joy, and believed in their future, then those possibilities existed within their authentic selves as well. Tonight's appearance was supposed to focus on Jennifer's latest dramatic role, exploring themes of identity and resilience. Jimmy had planned to discuss her approach to challenging roles and get her to share behind-the-scenes stories. The interview had started with Jennifer's characteristic humor and relatability. She had shared funny anecdotes from filming, discussed her dramatic work, and had the audience laughing with her self-deprecating observations about Hollywood. But when Jimmy asked about how Jennifer used her platform to help young people, something shifted in her expression. "You know, Jimmy," Jennifer said, her voice taking on unusual gravity, "I've learned that sometimes the most important acting doesn't happen on movie sets. Sometimes it happens in therapy rooms where kids who want to die learn that they can play characters who want to live." The audience grew quieter, sensing Jennifer was moving into more serious territory. "That sounds like you have experience helping young people through difficult times," Jimmy said with interest. Jennifer was quiet for a moment, her wit replaced by vulnerability. "I do, and it started with my own experience of learning that when I couldn't be myself without wanting to die, I could be someone else and remember what it felt like to want to live." The studio focused completely on Jennifer's words, shifting from entertainment to something much more meaningful. "Jennifer, it sounds like you're working directly with young people struggling with mental health," Jimmy said softly. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, powerful, coming from someone known for emotional honesty, but also strength. "For 7 years, I've been teaching acting to teenagers who are suicidal, kids so depressed they can't imagine wanting to be alive, helping them discover they can embody hope even when those feelings seem impossible." The audience was silent, witnessing a side of Jennifer that transcended celebrity, raw compassion from someone who had transformed her own crisis into a lifeline for others. "Jimmy, can I tell you about something that's taught me what acting really means?" Jennifer asked, her voice growing stronger despite tears. "Please," Jimmy replied, understanding something profound was being shared. Jennifer took a deep breath and spoke to the camera. "I run acting therapy sessions called character healing for severely depressed teenagers. 87 kids over 7 years who were planning suicide. teaching them that they can practice being someone who wants to live until that becomes their reality. Jimmy's expression changed completely. You're using acting to help prevent teen suicide? I'm using acting to show kids that depression lies to them about what they're capable of feeling, Jennifer replied with conviction. When a suicidal teenager can convincingly play someone who's happy or hopeful, it proves those emotions exist inside them, even when depression hides them. Tears streamed down Jimmy's face. Can you tell us about one of these teenagers? Emma was 16 when I met her, Jennifer said tenderly. She had attempted suicide and told me she felt trapped inside a character she hated, herself. She couldn't imagine ever feeling anything other than hopeless. Jennifer paused, gathering herself. I asked Emma to play someone who felt excited about their future. For 20 minutes, she embodied hope she couldn't access as herself. When we finished, Emma said it was the first time in months she had experienced anything other than despair. What happened to Emma? Jimmy asked through tears. Emma is now 23 and works as a drama therapist, Jennifer said with relief. She specializes in using acting to help other suicidal teenagers. She says playing different characters taught her that depression wasn't her permanent identity. It was just one role she was stuck in that she could learn to change. The audience was openly emotional, witnessing Jennifer's private work saving young lives through performance. Jennifer, how has this work changed your understanding of what it means to be an actor? Jimmy asked. It's taught me that the most important performances aren't the ones that win awards. They're the ones that save lives, Jennifer replied with wisdom. These kids showed me that acting isn't just about entertaining people, it's about showing them what's possible, including possibilities they can't see for themselves. The segment concluded with sustained applause lasting over 6 minutes, recognition of art transformed into medicine, acknowledgement that they had witnessed someone using talent to literally save lives. Jennifer's revelation became one of the most impactful Tonight Show segments in history, inspiring conversations about teen mental health, innovative suicide prevention approaches, and the healing power of performance. Most importantly, Jennifer's disclosure showed that sometimes the greatest roles an actor can play are not in movies, but in therapy rooms, where young souls learn that their story doesn't have to end in tragedy, that they can practice being someone who wants to live until that becomes their most authentic performance.